All right. All right, another review. So this is Ender's Shadow, Book 4, Shadow of the Giant. And this might be, I just on the top, this might be the most impactful of the Ender's Shadow series. And one of the most impactful, now that I think about it, of the entire series of the Ender Saga, let's say. Because the last couple books, like in the Ender Shadow series, it's getting weird here, but the last couple books that I've read of this series have been like interesting with geopolitical movements and seeing Peter kind of gain experience and importance. Same with Bean, same with Petra, same with all these characters, and you really like them. But these geopolitical movements on Earth don't make it seem too crazy, right? Like I'm invested, but I'm not as nothing is surprising me, nothing's hitting me, nothing's crazy. And Achilles is was never I never really cared for Achilles too much, so having him being the big baddie, I wasn't too worried or too invested. Really, I was there for the reverberations of Ender and how those reverberations affected Earth afterwards, like the Geesh and the other Battle School kids, how they handled life afterwards, right? I said Achilles, but I guess it's a shield, right? Whatever. Anywho, but this book was really solid because it felt like an ending, and it was an ending in a lot of ways, where we got the finalization of with the shield gone. We got the finalization of a lot of plots. So we had to wrap up China. We had to wrap up with Hanzu. Then we had to wrap up the Muslim League with Alai. That those got wrapped up, and everyone, all these countries had to coalesce into the at least the beginnings of the world hegemony organization. I think FPE. I forgot what that stands for. For Federal Protectorate of Earth, I don't know. That's my guess. Led by Peter, right, the hegemon, and he got to be what he set out to be. They got peace in our time, so to speak, with United Earth, and then all of the resources going to the expansion of people out into the cosmos. Um, Anywho, why I'm saying it's the most impactful is because this had a gut punch. This had a gut punch in it. I don't usually get gut punches from books too much. They don't gut punch me, like certainly not as much as a movie with the swelling music and the visuals all hitting you a lot harder, right? Because the visual I make in my brain is really not going to be as clear and as crystal as one that I see presented to me, and therefore the impact is not as clear and as sharp, right? But which is the same here, but I did feel an impact. I usually don't. Um, like with Bane and Petra, you get to see them get their like start from nothing really. Their relationship just being Petra kind of taking Bean under his her wing because she felt sorry for him because he was a tiny kid, and she kind of she had this she could empathize with that as she was a girl and like a mostly guy battle school, right? So she was kind of passing along, right, in that way. She's empathetic in that way and good, kind-hearted in that way. To then, having a relationship, working together, then a relationship, having all of their history together, then having kids, that all of Petra humanizing Bean a lot more, and then kind of getting him to have kids with her, and then those kids being stolen, and then them trying to get the kids, all the while Bean is just growing, 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 and he knows he has to leave and go out into space, and he has to take the kids who are like him, who are growing like crazy, with him out into space. And Petra thinks this whole time, oh, we're gonna go out into space even with all these other kids, and we're just gonna be a family, right, out into space. But Bean does the selfless thing, which is he waits and he does the right thing by letting her have these last few months with and together. Only him having the knowledge of the separation that's to come and the divorce that's to come. and having just a nice time at the end, right? And then he leaves, takes those kids and goes, and you have that heartbreaking moment where she hears it, has to knows it's the right call, doesn't want to accept it, but then does because it's the right thing for the kids, because you would be like dooming these regular kids because they have a couple regular kids. You'd be dooming them to a life in the stars, and it's just so sad, right? It's an utter selfless act, but also just utter devastation to them. Like the more I thought about it, and the more I think about it, it just sucks. Like it sucks so bad because you really care for these characters, and you care that for Bean as well, that he has to make these sacrifices, and that he's not some inhuman, right? He had loved Sister Carlotta, he loved Poke, and he loved the most Petra and his kids, and now he's forcefully separating for their own good. It's a selfless act, and it's honorable and devastating. And I think I've said enough about it, but it's heartfelt and great. Not because it makes you feel great, but because it makes you feel, and because you realize from that you do care, and that I think it takes something like this to make you understand that you do care about these characters that have been presented by Card. And then you jump ahead like 40, 50 years or something, and Petra has married Peter. Married Peter, had more kids. Peter was a solid hegemon. The world is united. The world is now, people are being sent off to the stars and to different colonies, and he gets in contact with Ender, and that's when they talk, and the book starts getting written, right, with about Peter's life written by Ender, and it's just such a bittersweet book. There's no like over the top crazy like villain, right? Like if anything, our villains is like Verlomi, and that's because she's let power go to her head, and she's definitely like my least favorite of all of this. However, she's interesting, she's new, she's acceptable, and from where I stopped my reading in Ender in Exile, I know that she's a character, right? She in that. So, and I restarted reading it because I finally am now to where I was when I first started this journey, where I read Ender's Game, then I started Ender's in Exile. About 40% through, I realized, oh crap, I got to read all these books. I read them, and now I'm back to Ender in Exile. And it's been rewarding, and I'm really enjoying this journey. It's really solid books. And this Shadow of the Giant is probably my favorite of the series. Definitely my favorite of the series. It's like the Return of the King of these books. It feels great and bittersweet and meaningful. But that's my review. I would give it, honestly, I'd give it maybe an 8.8 out of 10. Really solid. Really, really solid. Approaching great for sure. But yeah. Yep. That's the review. We continue.